this week, we've had so many people win contracts, it's mind-boggling. Stephen with Skyhawk Drone, you've been on quite a few trainings. You were getting a little frustrated. Stephen finally won one. We won two. Nice. I sent out a video yesterday because I've got a client, two clients who won FEMA debris removal contracts. Actually, we have more than that, but one's in Texas, one's in Florida, and they're looking to hire subcontractors as well. So anybody that's got equipment or wants to do some sub work, let me know. Anybody have a bid to work on today? Solicitation, proposal, a question? I know I got one question in the email we can cover if nobody has anything to work on. All right, let's take a look at this question in the email. This question is from Mr. Oakland. Can you help me figure out how to get into the ESRS to see how much business is being done by individual prime vendors with small businesses, HUBZones, minorities, etc.? Okay. Some of these systems are not publicly accessible. Some of them are. If I remember correctly, the ESRS is one that is publicly accessible. And so is P-Peers. ESRS is the electronic subcontract reporting system. It is where purchasing agents post how much they pay you to prove that they're hiring small businesses. And that's where you register right there as a contractor. I don't know if I remember my password or not. I have to look and double check my password, but this is where you go, esrs.gov. Make sure you register as a contractor, not as a vendor. And that will allow you to log in and view past performance, your past performance, and also other vendors' past performance. You can also P-Peers is the past performance information retrieval system. So ESRS is where they show that you've been hired as a subcontractor. P-Peers is where they show that you've been hired as a prime. And it's ppeers.gov and the report card application login, or you can search it right here as John Q. Public. And would also have to put in your DUNS number, your cage code, blah, blah, blah. 5 yellow mud ducks 1. Search. And you see we have no past performance because we don't do contracts. We're not allowed to. It's a conflict of interest. But let's search one of my clients who has won a contract and see. Survey says no reports were found. So I know, in fact, he has won contracts, but they are not posted in P-Peers or FAPIS, the Federal Awardee Performance and Integrated Information System. If he wants this stuff to show up as past performance, really the only option he has is to reach out to the purchasing officer and ask the purchasing officer to update FAPIS or P-Peers with that data. Any questions on P-Peers, FAPIS, ESRS, guys? Can you guys still hear me okay? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anybody got anything to work on? Question, bid, solicitation, proposal?
John Stevens, Skyhawk Drone Services. Regarding the subcontracting opportunity
Yes.
in Texas and Florida, Is that just limited to debris removal, or are they looking for other type of my type of services, for example, aerial services?
Well, I mean, I'll put it to you this way, guys. FEMA is still awarding contracts from Katrina in Louisiana. That was 15 years ago, and they're still awarding FEMA contracts from Katrina. They're going to award contracts in Texas and in Florida and Louisiana for the next 15 to 20 years. And you guys know for a fact we're going to have more storms. We're going to have more hurricanes. I'm in the hurricane capital of the world. We've got Tornado Alley up in the Bible Belt. Heck, guys, we got an active volcano in this country, so there's always going to be FEMA work, and FEMA buys everything. Our government buys everything under the sun. I've yet to find something that our government does not buy. Our government buys yo-yos. Our government buys everything from paper clips to spaceships. Our government, I saw a contract where they spent $80 million buying marijuana, and the same day there was a contract for $87 million to destroy marijuana. If you can think of it, our government buys it, and FEMA's going to need it. So I would say yes. I mean, aerial, doing what you do, Stephen, it's going to be invaluable for FEMA to investigate areas that need repairs or need debris removed. They need to go look in areas where they can't drive and they can't take a boat. So, aerial drones is just a genius way to work with FEMA. So my answer is yes, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. We got in, I told you guys, Stephen won a new contract today. So did Ace Ford Logistics. He's been in our training. They've got one now. Guys, just don't give up. Stephen, why don't you tell them how frustrated you were last week with pricing and all that?
Hey, guys. Thanks, John. It can be frustrating, especially when you submit proposals for your area of work, which is, in our case, aerial surveillance. We had 2 cancellations, solicitations actually, that were canceled. And we were wondering, geez, I reached out to John and said, what are we doing? What's going on here? And, John indicated that this is normal with the federal government. And he also pointed out where someone won a contract the same day and they cancel it the same day. So anything is possible. However, it's a lot of work. It's frustrating, but you just got to push through. Be strong. Just push.
Keep the faith. I would not be doing what I do if it didn't work, guys. I'm not that guy. I'm not the dude that used to sell timeshares because I'm not that guy. I know timeshares were wrong, so I've never sold them. When I went to work for the Better Business Bureau in the 80s when I first moved to Florida. And the guy put a yellow page book down in front of me and he said, all right, call these businesses, tell them they have complaints. They need to sign up with us. And I said, awesome. Where can I see these complaints at? He said, everybody has complaints. Just call them and tell them they have complaints and they need to sign up with us. They need to pay us. And I'm like, that's messed up and that's not right. And he goes, listen, everybody has complaints. If you're in business, you have complaints. And I agree with that. You can't make 100% of the people happy all the time. But what they were doing, and the way they presented, it was just wrong. So I couldn't do it. I'm not that guy. So if this system did not work, I would not be here talking to you right now. You just got to keep the faith. And like Michael said, keep pushing. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if. All right. I'm going to show you guys that haven't seen SubNet. Let me show you that real quick because that's a good way to get some subcontract work. FEMA does put stuff out for bid. You can find FEMA contracts in FBO and in our AFPDS system. You can find subcontract work in SubNet as well. And anybody that wants to work for any of my clients that have won contracts, let me know and I'll put, network you guys together. You want to search SubNet SBA. And actually, I have a video on this already, a very detailed video on SubNet. So watch that as well. You go to SubNet and you go to search. It's going to make you hit search twice. Why? I have no idea. It's a government database. you search for a description, you can put in FEMA. They post these things by the oldest. So if you want to see a new opportunity, you got to scroll all the way to the bottom. Also, no idea why they do that, but so America's Workforce Solutions got this one they're anticipating by the end of next year. This one they're anticipating by March of next year. Every one of these, well, most of these are opportunities where they're looking to hire subcontractors. Some of them are people that have posted in here that they want to be hired. That's not the way this system's designed. It's not what it's made for. I don't know if that works or not, but I mean, it's worth a try, I guess. Other than that, you just click on them. You want to work for Ames? Click on it. There's the email, there's the phone number. This person is most likely the small business liaison officer. So, and they're in here because they want to hire subcontractors. These aren't cold calls. These are warm calls, if anything. They're wanting you to reach out to them. And they're telling you what it is they're looking to hire. They want certified and qualified DBE and B, W.B.O.S.B, SBRA, SF, Hub, subcontractors, suppliers to meet the 13% DBE goal for the following project for water supply system phase 2, California Natural Resources Agency. And I mean, there it is. Any questions about SubNet? Any questions in general? Anybody else have anything to work on today? Any bids, proposals, solicitations to work on? Anyone? Bueller?
John, Stephen again, I just wanted to say that, since we started our training with you, I've been working at least 7 days a week. And, for the last, 3-4 months, and look, we won 2 contracts today.
There it is. I've had clients win their very first bid. Don't expect to win your very first bid. Don't expect to win the first 10. I mean, the first few you do is a learning curve. Just make sure when you don't win a contract, request a debriefing. I don't care if you think it was because they hired someone whose price was lower. That still doesn't mean that's why they hired them. All right, on small business set-asides, it's rarely about price, and it'll say that in the synopsis. It'll say that your technical solution is the most important factor. Your technical proposal is the main thing that they're going to use to choose a vendor. Your past performance is second, and price is last. So just because someone won it and their price was lower than yours does not mean that's why they won it. Always request a debriefing. Request a debriefing when you win them. Ask the purchasing officer, could I please have a debriefing? I'd like to know what I did right so I can make sure to do it again in the future. Thank you so much. And learn from these things. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting different results. Don't do that. Be results oriented. I've had people tell me they submitted 50 bids and didn't win one. And when I ask them why they didn't win it, they're like, I don't know. That's why I'm coming to you. They don't even know you can request a debriefing. Make sure you request a debriefing on every contract, even when you win them. All right, guys?
Thanks, sir.
John,
Yes, sir.
John, this is Will.
Yes.
I got just a quick question, I guess something to talk about.
Yes.
On the Made in America clause or whatever it is, can we specify on that a little bit? Because yesterday I lost a bid, and he said that it was because I've, my product wasn't made in America. And then turn around today, I lose a bid to a company in Dubai, which don't make sense to me. And so I just wondering if we could sort of talk about that a little bit. And then the other thing is I said, well, I'll start reaching out to manufacturers that make the products that they're looking for in America. And half of them that I'm reaching out to are small businesses already selling to the government. So I'm kind of hitting a dead wall. I didn't know if you could speak on that for a second.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a list of countries that you're allowed to buy from that meet the Buy USA qualifications. I don't put a lot of weight on the Buy USA because I don't see very many of them very often. But let me show you. It's on G.S.A.'s website. Where is it at? Did I have a signature on it already? I might. I don't think I did a video on it yet. Be a good subject to do a video on.
I looked up the free trade agreement, the countries we have free trade with, and so does it basically mean that you either have to, source from a American company, made in America, or one of the free trade countries?
Well, the thing about it is they've got a list of countries that you can buy for, number one. Number two, if they're wanting to buy from a country that's not on the Buy USA list, there is some other options as far as if the product is modified or changed in any way, if it make it better or you have to assemble it, that qualifies as Buy USA. So
right.
The best example I can give you there is I got a client who sells coolers to the government. Now, when they get these coolers, because for freight purposes, they don't put the lids on them overseas. They leave the lids off because they can stack the coolers inside each other, and they can stack the lids, and it uses less space when shipping it. So when he gets these coolers here, he has to install the lid, which literally is 4 screws. It takes him 5 seconds, but that qualifies as the Buy USA rule because that product is being modified or changed here in the U.S.
So whenever we turn in our bid at that point, like, for example, the one that I lost because they said it didn't meet the Buy American Act, should have I put, because they made me list on there the country of origin, and should have I put America in that case? Because, I mean, I could have, very easily done something to them. I could have told them to leave something off or whatever, and I could have done it here.
Yeah, and that's what some people do. Now, I had one client that removed a sticker and put a new sticker on it. But they put a sticker, a Made in USA sticker on it. And I'm like, I never told you to do that. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You don't take a product that's manufactured in another company and put Made in USA on it. That's like major. I think it's a felony. But that's how they justified it. They were like, well, we modified it by putting the sticker on it. I said, that's really pushing the rules,
Okay.
I'll tell you what.
But is there anything wrong with telling my manufacturer?
No, not at all. Not at all.
And just
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'll find the exact rules on it, and I'll post a video on that specifically today.
Okay. So how much do they check into that, though? Like, if you put it on the form, I mean, is it one of them deals where they they just kind of overlook it if it says America, or do they make you prove it?
I'll put it to you this way. The government doesn't really check up on it all that much, but you better believe if you win at one of your competitors, it's going to be up your ass.
Yeah.
Right? And that's Steven just brought up a good point. That's kind of like the situation with that movie War Dogs. They were, selling stuff to the government left and right as a broker. They did that deal. They had guns that they wanted to sell, but guns didn't meet the requirements. So they paid a guy to repackage the guns so that they could sell them, and they got away with it. The problem is the guy that did the repackaging, they got greedy and never paid him, and he ratted them out. So the government isn't going to go out of their way to try and see if you're cheating or lying. For the most part, you may be audited. They do this, but they don't have the time and the resources to look at every single award and make sure that there was no funny business. All right. The point I'm saying here is never, ever cheat, never, ever lie to the government.
Right.
Because if you do and they don't catch you, one of your competitors might. And they'll rat you out, or they'll go to the GAO and do a bid protest.
What do you do in the case of, like, if you get a bunch of, say, a lot of the sources you're looking for in America are already selling to the government and stuff like that? Do you just keep searching or try to find a bigger one that don't meet the Small Business Act, or is there anything you can do in that case?
It's hit or miss. You're going to find situations where you've got a perfect fit, and you're going to find situations where no matter what you do, there's no way you're going to be able to bid on it. Right. If you're calling manufacturers and they're all big, they probably, some of them already have a database of suppliers that they work with. So they're not going to give you a good deal so that you can, beat their suppliers out. So it's just a numbers game in that case. Now, I've seen it go both ways. I've had people call up and say, man, I talked to 5 people today and they all told me to go pound sand. They're not going to give me a quote. There's no way I can bid on this. Then don't. Skip it. Don't go back to that arena anymore. Leave that arena alone if you know it's not an area that can work. But I've also seen it go just the opposite. And the best example I can give you is with Herb Pyramid. The first contract he won for natural gas, the vendor he called, because he called several vendors and they said, we're bidding on this ourselves, so we're not going to give you a price. You go pound sand.
Yeah, I've had that.
But then he called one vendor and that vendor said, well, what zip code is this going to? And okay, I know what you're quoting on. This is the natural gas contract at Tinkler Air Force Base. And Herb was like, man, again? Because he just talked to me the day before that saying, I'm running into this where they won't give me a price. Or they're giving me a price that's 5 times what they're selling it for so that I can't be competitive. But he stuck to his guns, and that one contract he called, he said, we know this is going to Tinkler. We know because we've held this contract for the last 10 years, but this is what we're going to do. We can't bid on it this year because we're no longer a small business, but we want to keep this contract. So we're going to give you a price better than we gave the government last year so that you can still give the government a good price and make some money on it and be a broker and everybody's going to be happy.
Right.
You know, and it just worked out. I mean, that they could have easily said, no, we're not going to work with you. I'm going to give this to my cousin Vinny. He's going to start a business and do it. But that's where you start, you know, those are gray areas. Those are fine lines. And I stay away from gray areas 100%. So, and
I guess you don't have to call, like, you don't have to tell them that you're bidding on the government stuff neither, I guess, do you? Because, I mean, so far what I've seen is you basically, in the field that I'm in, you basically just try to become a wholesale distributor with as many manufacturers as you can. And when something comes up, then you turn around and you ask for your quantity or whatever, get your price on it and submit your bid. I mean, leave it to them to, I guess, put the two together if they can.
Some of these guys are going to figure it out. Some of them don't. Yeah. Some of them don't care. You know, that's why I always tell people when you're asking for a quantity, never use the exact quantity. Don't tell them the exact area it's going. Give them the county or the state. Just say, hey, it's going to. Yeah. Or my favorite scenario is they want to know where it's going so they can give you a quote on the freight. If it's going to Texas, tell them it's going to Washington. Have them give you because that's farther to ship it. It's their freight cost that they're going to give you is going to be higher. But then add that into your solicitation, and it's going to be a couple more cents in your pocket when they ship it, and it doesn't cost as much. So there's ways to play that game, that 007 James Bond thing, and not have them figure out where it's going. Same thing with quantity. Always underguesstimate your quantity. If they want 88, ask them for a quote on 75. Because if you ask them for a quote on 88 and it's going to this state, they already know what it is. You're done.
Yeah, that's happened to me a couple times. Too honest is what it is.
Yep. But if you ask them for 75 and tell them it's going to California instead of Texas, they can't put 2 and 2 together. And, you know.
I got you.
It's a good question.
All right. Thanks, John.
No problem. Any other questions? Anybody else got a question, bid, solicitation, proposal?
John, Steven, I just want to say we won our 2 contracts because of you and your team. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. And I'm going to be adding you to my list of awardees. When you guys win one, I want you to send me the award letter. When you do that, we're going to do a press release. We're going to send that press release out to 200 and something thousand federal purchasing agents. So once you win one, your name is going to be plastered in front of these guys. All right?
Yes, sir.
And I want to add you to my my best quotes page. So keep it up, guys. Get her done.
Thanks, sir.
Hey, John.
Yes, sir.
Hey, so are you saying that wholesalers, if you give them where you're shipping it to and the quantity, they'll go in and try to do business with the government and take your deal?
Sometimes. Some of these guys are, you know, I say in a dog-eat-dog world, be a lion, because some of these guys are pretty savvy. They've been at it for a long time. So when a newbie comes along, they don't want you to compete. You know what I mean? That's why he's not a big fan of me. I don't care. He's not my client, right? My clients love me. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen
Okay. Wow.
contracts
Very
that were
interesting.
lost because the supplier figured it out, and I've seen there's basically four scenarios. They're either going to tell you to pound sand, and they're not giving you a price. Go take a flying leap off of a long walk off a short pier. They're not going to give you a price, and some of them will tell you, I know what this deal is for. We are bidding directly, or I have a distribution network of suppliers that are certified that already sell my product. I'm not giving you a price. All right. Some of them are a little more savvy. They don't want you to know that they know, but they'll give you a price that's 2 or 3 times higher than what they're bidding, which is good because it's kind of like insider trading. If they get caught doing it, they can get in trouble because some contracts require the government gets a minimum of 2 or 3 or 5 offers in order to award it. So the supplier is happy that you're submitting a bid because that guarantees the minimum number of offers so that it can be awarded. That also, guys, is another reason why sometimes these things are canceled because they didn't get enough offers. Maybe they only got 2 offers and they needed 3. But when they do that, that is a gray area. And they'll give you a price that's 4 times what they're going to quote. That way you submit an offer, they meet the minimum number of offers, and they still win it because their price is lowest or whatever the case. A third scenario I've seen is where you'll call around to 3 or 4 suppliers and you'll get 3 or 4 prices, and 3 of them are right around the same price, and the 4th one's 3 or 4 times what the other guys have quoted you. That is a prime example of when they're trying to pull the wool and have you bid so that there's enough bidders to do the minimum award amount. I've seen situations where they'll just give you a price and it's fair. And even though they know they have distributors that sell it, or maybe they don't have distributors that sell it and they can't bid on it directly because they're not a small business. I've seen situations where when I went to the International Glove Association annual convention, they hired me to come out and do a presentation and do some training for those guys. When I went there, 95% of the suppliers that were interested in selling to the government had already tried to sell the government at one point in time and failed, and they don't try anymore. And they know for a fact they have distributors and suppliers and brokers that sell their product to the government, and they're missing out. But it's because they tried once and failed, and they don't try now. That happens a lot. So that's another scenario where you might call a federal vendor who's no longer active or might even still be active, but they've given up. They don't know what they're doing, so they didn't win any contracts. They don't have me on their team, so they're not learning how to do it properly. And some of these guys have bought G.S.As for 10, 20 grand. I have one client that spent over $100,000 trying to win government contracts, never won a single one. It's because the attorney he hired originally to register them didn't register them properly. But he never knew that because he never requested a debriefing. So you guys are going to find all types of scenarios. Best case scenario, they tried and failed, or they just don't want to try. Some people are afraid to sell to the government. It's intimidating. It's scary. They're worried about doing something wrong and getting in trouble or getting fined, or, it's the federal government. I can sell to the federal government? Really? Yeah, you can. Some of these guys don't know that, and they'll never try. So if you run the numbers, you're going to come across all the scenarios. If you come across a scenario where no one's giving you a price in that particular industry, and those are the only guys you can get it from, then stop looking up contracts in that industry. Don't waste your time on that stuff. Invest your time on areas that you can get competitive pricing. All right?
All right. So let me just ask you this. So at what point do you give them the correct information? Because at some point you have to tell them, okay, well, yeah, it's going to Virginia. I need to ship if they give you a price.
Once it's awarded, once it's awarded and it's yours, then you tell them where it's going and the exact quantity and blah, blah, blah. But until then, you either do or you don't. If you, like I said, if it's got to go to Virginia, look at this scenario. They want to know, let me show it to you like this. Okay, so they need to know where it's going so they can give you an estimate on shipping, for example. They might be asking you that because they're being honest. They might be asking that because they're trying to figure out 2 and 2, and they're trying to figure out who your source is. Okay. So if I had to ship something to an Air Force base in Texas, I would ask them for, maybe it's in Austin, I'd ask them for a freight to Houston, or it's going to go to New Mexico, or I would choose something farther away so they can't figure out, they can't put 2 and 2 together, but your freight costs are still good. You don't want to go shorter because then the freight's cheaper and your price isn't going to work. You're going to lose money. So always guesstimate farther. Same thing with quantities. If they want to know how many and it's an exact quantity, like 88, I ask for a quote for 75. So they don't put 2 and 2 together. And then once it's awarded, I say, oh, by the way, I need more than 75. Can you give me a little bit better quote since I'm ordering a larger quantity? Now you can beat them up for price. And once it's awarded and it's yours, now you can go back to all the other vendors that gave you a quote and you can put them against each other. Hey, this guy's giving me this quote with free freight. What can you do for me? Oh, you can give me a better price and the free freight now? Okay, awesome. Let's do this. Same thing when you win a contract that's a repeat contract or a contract with a 3 or 4 year option and they're ordering monthly. You do your first order. You buy whatever it is and ship it, do the first order, invoice the government, get paid. When you're ready to place your second order, go back to your sales guy and say, hey, look, man, I already did the first order. I got this contract for the next 5 years. You better give me a better price or free freight or something, or I'm going to go to your competitor across the street. I'm going to buy it from them. In a dog-eat-dog world, be a lion. All right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Should you change your, because I was thinking maybe they could see, you know how the government has a certain way they put their line items. Is that another way that a distributor may be able to figure out, well, this is from the government? Should you change that up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean,
if you're copy and paste that in.
Yeah, if you're copy and pasting it exactly from the opportunity itself, and they're asking for 5 of this and 8 of that and 10 of these and 12 of those, that's real easy to put 2 and 2 together. So yeah, switching the line items up, decreasing your quantities, absolutely. And maybe even if you can get multiple supplies from multiple suppliers, ask one supplier for a quote on these 3 things, but leave 2 out. Ask another supplier for a quote on those 3 things, but leave 2 other ones out. Mix it up that way. Because if you can get it from multiple locations, you can get multiple pricing. You've got the ability to beat them up once it's awarded.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks, Rob.
Any other questions? Anybody else got a question? Bid, solicitation, proposal? No. Let me check the chat window. Make sure no one's in the chat. Nope. All right, guys. Great training today. Good questions. I'm definitely going to post this video because this was a good one. Let me know. Anything that burns your ass, you want me to cover a subject, if you guys want to get on at 4 o'clock, just email Gina. And good job, guys. Keep it up. That's in the last 2 days. That's, I think, 14 or even 15 clients that have won contracts in just 2 days. And it's all people that have been on my bid training. Guys, you have something that most of your competition doesn't have. Not to give myself a big head, tell you how awesome I am, but you've got a tool. I just called myself a tool. You've got a tool that gives you an upper hand over your competition. Use it. All right?
Yes, sir.
Good job. Keep it up. I'll talk to you guys at 4 or whenever you get on next time.